In the vast world of coin collecting, there's a quiet mystery hidden within one of the most familiar coins in American pockets, the Jefferson nickel. It's a coin that most people overlook, spend without thought, or see as just another piece of change. But what if I told you that a single nickel from 1975, yes, just 5 cents, could actually be worth more than a brand new sports car or even a small home? Believe it or not, that's exactly the case with the rare 1975 Jefferson nickel error coins. A handful of remarkable mistakes that turned a simple 5-cent piece into something worth between $60,500 and $138,200. The story begins in the mid-1970s, a time when America was shifting and changing in nearly every way. The Vietnam War had just ended. The economy was struggling, and inflation was at an all-time high. People were thinking about money differently, counting every penny, dime, and nickel. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was busy trying to keep up with demand, striking millions upon millions of coins every single day to keep commerce moving. The Jefferson nickel, designed by Felix Schlag back in 1938, continued to be a cornerstone of U.S. currency, featuring that timeless profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. But as with all things made by machines and humans, perfection is never guaranteed. In 1975, amid the rush of mass production, something strange began to happen on the Mint's coin presses. Errors, rare, beautiful, and valuable mistakes, began to emerge. Some of the 1975 Jefferson nickels were struck with incredible flaws that went unnoticed at first. One of the most talked about errors was the off-center strike, where the design was accidentally shifted, leaving part of the coin blank and the rest of Jefferson's face awkwardly misaligned. To a casual observer, it looked like a damaged coin. But to collectors, this was gold, or in this case, nickel. The more dramatic the misalignment, the rarer and more desirable the piece became. Then came the double die errors, coins where the lettering or date appeared slightly doubled, like a shadow effect caused by a die that struck twice by mistake. The words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date 1975 could appear ghosted or thicker than usual. These kinds of errors don't just happen often. They're the stuff of legend. And when you find one in pristine condition, its value skyrockets. But perhaps the most astonishing discovery from 1975 wasn't an off-center strike or a double die. It was something even rarer. Nickel struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the metal blank used was not the one intended for nickels. Some 1975 Jefferson nickels were accidentally struck on copper or dime planchets instead of the standard 75% copper and 25% nickel composition. That small difference in metal created a visual oddity. A coin that didn't look quite right, lighter in weight, thinner, and sometimes even with parts of the design missing because the smaller planchet couldn't fit the entire image. These planchet errors are among the most prized by collectors because they represent a true minting anomaly, the kind of thing that simply shouldn't happen. When authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC, such coins can reach jaw-dropping prices. In fact, one 1975 Jefferson nickel struck on a dime planchet sold for an astonishing $60,500 at auction. And that wasn't even the most valuable one ever found. The rarest and most perfect examples, those with extreme errors or in near-flawless condition, have gone on to reach well over $138,200, leaving both collectors and auctioneers in disbelief. Think about that for a second. A 5-cent coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground, turning out to be worth over $100,000. It's easy to dismiss this as luck, but when you dive into the story behind these coins, you begin to see the incredible mix of history, craftsmanship, and pure chance that makes them so fascinating. Each error tells a story. Maybe it was a long night at the Mint when a press operator missed a minor misalignment. Maybe a leftover blank from another batch slipped into the wrong bin. Or maybe it was a simple human oversight that turned into numismatic history. One famous example that surfaced in recent years left experts speechless. It was a 1975 Jefferson nickel with a dramatic double strike, meaning it had been struck twice in 2 different orientations. You could clearly see Jefferson's face in one position and then again, slightly rotated. The level of precision and preservation made it one of the cleanest error coins ever seen from that year. It sold for well over 6 figures, proving once again that even small mistakes can lead to enormous rewards. Collectors today treasure the 1975 nickel because it sits right on the edge of a transitional era for U.S. coins. The Mint was experimenting with new metal compositions, new dyes, and improved striking technology leading into the bicentennial years of 1976. That period was full of trial, adjustment, and yes, error. Which means every coin struck during that time carries a bit of unpredictability. If you've ever held a 1975 Jefferson nickel, take a closer look. Look at the details in Jefferson's hair, the crispness of the letters, and especially the date. Examine the rim. Is it perfectly centered, or does one side look wider than the other? Hold it under a bright light and tilt it slightly. Do you see doubling on the lettering or the numbers? If you do, don't dismiss it. You could be staring at a coin that's not worth 5 cents, but thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Collectors have a saying, the treasure is in the details. And that couldn't be truer with the 1975 nickel. Most people would never notice the small imperfections that make these coins special. But for those who take the time to look, the payoff can be life-changing. Imagine rummaging through a jar of old coins at home or at a garage sale and finding one that just feels a bit different. You bring it to an appraiser, they inspect it under magnification, and their expression changes. Then they tell you this is no ordinary nickel. This is one of the rare 1975 mint errors. And just like that, a 5-cent coin you've had for years could suddenly be worth $60,500. Or in exceptional cases, over $138, $200. The fascination with coins like this goes beyond the money. It's about connection. A piece of metal that has traveled through time, passed through countless hands, and survived decades, only to reveal a secret no one noticed before. Every nick, every shine, every small misprint tells a part of its story. And while 1975 might seem like just another year in the long history of U.S. coinage, the truth is, it produced some of the most mysterious Jefferson nickels ever made. They remind us that even in an age of machines, where precision is everything, human error still finds its way in. And sometimes those errors become legends. Today, coin experts and collectors across the world are still hunting for these rare 1975 nickels, checking coin rolls, flea markets, old collections, and even family piggy banks. The odds are slim, but they know that somewhere out there, another extraordinary error might still be waiting to be found. So, the next time you get change at a store, don't just toss your nickels aside. Hold on to them. Take a closer look. You might see a small flaw, a faint doubling, a shifted rim, or even a strange metallic color. And if you do, don't ignore it. That simple 5-cent coin could be the next one to join the record books, worth far more than you can imagine. Because history has already proven it, the 1975 Jefferson nickel, born from error, has defied its humble value time and time again. And for the lucky few who discover one, that little coin can become a life-changing treasure, worth not just $60,500, but in some cases over $138, $200. A mistake at the mint, a masterpiece in your hand. That's the story of the 1975 Jefferson nickel. Proof that even the smallest coins can carry the biggest surprises. In 1982, the United States was in the midst of change, a time of economic shifts, new technologies, and a country pushing forward into a new decade. But tucked away in pocket change that year, something remarkable happened. A small 5-cent coin, the familiar Jefferson nickel, carried an error so rare and so fascinating that decades later, collectors are still talking about it. It's a story of chance, precision, and the incredible way a small minting mistake can turn an ordinary coin into a treasure worth far more than its face value. Sometimes even up to $52,300 or, in the most exceptional cases, an astonishing $128,500. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, has always been one of America's most recognized coins. With the noble portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his beautiful home, Monticello, on the back, it's a design that reflects both history and elegance. But even after decades of production, errors still found their way through the mint's strict quality control. The year 1982 proved this perfectly, and it produced some of the most valuable and intriguing Jefferson nickel errors ever discovered. Let's start with a bit of context. The 1980s were a transitional period for the U.S. Mint. Advances in machinery, die preparation, and planchet quality were improving production speed but also introducing new possibilities for errors. Billions of nickels were struck that year, each weighing 5 grams, made of a copper-nickel blend that gave the coin its distinct silvery gray sheen. With such massive production, Even the tiniest mistake could create something extraordinary. One of the most famous 1982 nickel errors is the double die obverse, a coin where the design on the front was impressed twice slightly out of alignment. Under magnification, you can see the doubling clearly on the words, "In God we trust, liberty," and even on Jefferson's eye and facial features. It's a striking effect that immediately catches the eye of any collector. A strong double die like this can increase the coin's value exponentially, depending on how visible the doubling is and how well-preserved the surfaces remain. Then there's another spectacular variety, the off-center strike. Imagine a coin that was struck while the blank wasn't perfectly centered under the dies. The result is a Jefferson nickel where part of Jefferson's face is missing or distorted, with a blank crescent of unstruck metal on one side. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the full date, 1982, is still visible. Collectors absolutely love these dramatic errors because they showcase the mint's human side, proof that even advanced machinery can make rare, beautiful mistakes. But perhaps one of the most valuable and visually stunning 1982 errors is the struck-on wrong planchet variety. Every so often, a blank meant for another denomination, such as a penny or dime, would find its way into the nickel presses. When this happens, the coin's size, weight, and even color are completely off. Imagine a 1982 Jefferson nickel struck on a copper penny planchet, glowing reddish instead of silvery gray, with part of the design missing because the smaller blank couldn't contain it all. These coins are breathtakingly rare. One such specimen sold at auction for over $52,300, and another example, nearly flawless and struck on a dime planchet, crossed the six-figure mark, selling for an unbelievable $128,500. There's another fascinating type of error from that year, the clipped planchet. This happens when a sheet of metal is punched to create blanks, but one blank overlaps another during cutting. The result is a coin with a crescent-shaped bite missing from its edge. On a 1982 nickel, this clipping can vary in size and location, and when combined with other striking errors, it creates a one-of-a-kind rarity. Collectors are drawn to these coins not only because they're visually distinct, but because they're tangible proof of how coins are made, and how something so small can go unpredictably wrong. Yet, perhaps the most visually appealing of all are the broad strike errors, where the retaining collar fails during minting. The coin spreads wider than normal, appearing stretched, with soft, distorted edges. It's as if the nickel melted outward under pressure. A 1982 Jefferson nickel with a dramatic broad strike, especially one still in uncirculated condition, can be worth several $1,000s or more. Combine that with perfect mint luster, and you have a showstopper of a coin that can command extraordinary prices. Now, one of the most talked about 1982 nickels in recent years was a specimen with multiple striking errors, a combination of off-center, broad strike, and doubling all on a single coin. It was a masterpiece of imperfection, preserved in almost mint-state condition, with full detail and an extraordinary finish. When it went up for auction, collectors went wild. The final sale price? A jaw-dropping $128,500. But the fascination with the 1982 Jefferson nickel doesn't stop with major errors. Even minor variations from that year can be valuable in top condition. Coins graded MS67 or MS68 by PCGS or NGC, especially those with full steps visible on Monticello, what collectors call full steps nickels, are rare gems. Most nickels leave the press with soft or incomplete steps due to wear on the dies or insufficient striking pressure. Finding a 1982 Jefferson nickel with sharp, full steps is like finding a needle in a haystack, and the price reflects that rarity. Some of these coins have sold for thousands, even without dramatic minting errors, simply because they're pristine and well-struck. It's also worth noting that 1982 marked a subtle change in how the U.S. Mint handled die polishing and maintenance. This led to minor varieties, weakly struck details, missing mint marks, or die cracks, each of which adds its own layer of intrigue. Some nickels from this year show faint die cracks running across Jefferson's portrait or the building of Monticello, creating natural, lightning patterns that collectors find mesmerizing. These aren't always worth massive sums, but when they appear on high-grade, lustrous examples, they become highly collectible. What makes the story of the 1982 Jefferson nickel so fascinating is how ordinary it seems at first glance. To the untrained eye, it's just another coin, 5 cents, silver-colored, small, common. But for those who know what to look for, It's a world of hidden possibilities. Every small detail, a shifted date, a missing edge, a doubled letter, could be the clue that you're holding a rare and valuable piece of minting history. Imagine finding one in your change or coin jar, not realizing what you've stumbled upon until you look closer. You turn it under the light and notice that Jefferson's eye seems doubled. Or maybe the edge looks wider, the strike slightly off. You start to suspect something special, and after researching or having it appraised, you find out it's worth not 5 cents, but $52,300, maybe even $128,500 if it's one of those ultra-rare, near-perfect examples. That's the magic of coin collecting. It turns everyday pocket change into potential treasure. Collectors today hunt for these 1982 errors with passion, knowing that only a handful exist. Many are still undiscovered, tucked away in drawers, jars, or rolls that haven't been opened in decades. Every time someone decides to go through an old coin collection, there's a chance another incredible error might be found. One that tells its own story of minting mystery and chance. The 1982 Jefferson nickel error coins remind us that even in an age of machines and precision, perfection is never guaranteed. And sometimes, it's those little imperfections that create the biggest rewards. They're a blend of art, history, and luck. A glimpse into the moment when metal, pressure, and timing came together in just the wrong way to create something perfectly unique. So, the next time you come across an old Jefferson nickel, don't overlook it. Check the date, look for doubling, study the edges. Examine Monticello's steps and see if the design seems slightly off. Because who knows? That tiny 5-cent piece could be the key to an incredible discovery. It might not just be worth a nickel, it might be worth a fortune. Maybe $52,300, maybe even $128,500, and that's the beauty of numismatics. Every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth far more than their face value. The 1982 Jefferson nickel is living proof that the smallest details can make the biggest difference, and that hidden treasures might just be waiting in the change you hold in your hand right now. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story turns out to be worth a small fortune. The U.S. Jefferson nickel, that simple, everyday 5-cent coin, is something millions of Americans have handled countless times without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of those nickels, specifically from 1996, could be worth as much as $45,600 to $124,500? That's right. A coin you might have spent on a cup of coffee decades ago could now be one of the rarest mint errors in modern American coinage. This is the story of the 1996 Jefferson nickel error, a small coin with a massive secret that turned collectors' heads and auction prices sky-high. To understand why this coin is so valuable, we need to go back to the heart of the 1990s. The year was 1996, a time before digital wallets, before credit cards ruled, when coins still mattered. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, carried the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, designed by Felix Schlag and Monticello, Jefferson's famous home, on the reverse. Billions of these coins were minted each year, mostly in Philadelphia and Denver. The 1996 series should have been like any other, a standard issue meant to circulate across the country. But somewhere within the minting process, something went terribly, or, depending on how you look at it, wonderfully wrong. Among the billions of perfectly struck nickels, a handful came out with shocking and dramatic minting errors. These weren't small flaws. These were visible mistakes that turned the coin from ordinary to legendary. The most famous among them? The off-center strike errors, double die obverse, and wrong planchet strikes. These are the kinds of coins that shouldn't exist, yet somehow do, and collectors go wild for them. Let's start with the double die obverse error. Imagine flipping your nickel under good light and noticing that the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even the date 1996 appear slightly doubled, as though someone accidentally stamped the coin twice. This isn't just a smudge or scratch. It's an actual doubling in the design, caused by the die itself being imprinted twice during preparation but slightly misaligned. That's a major minting flaw, and it's one that can elevate a 5-cent coin into the thousands instantly. A 1996 Jefferson nickel with a bold double die obverse in pristine, uncirculated condition has fetched auction prices well above $45,600, proving that even the smallest design anomaly can carry massive value when rarity meets condition. Then there are the off-center strikes, coins where the image of Jefferson or the Monticello is visibly shifted to one side. The amount of off-centeredness determines just how much the coin is worth. A 10% off-center strike might bring a few $100s, but a dramatic 50% or more off-center strike, where part of the coin is completely blank, could fetch thousands. And if it's combined with a readable date, that value jumps even higher. Collectors love these because they are visually striking, a literal glimpse into the chaos of the minting process. One such 1996 Jefferson nickel, struck wildly off-center and perfectly preserved, was recently valued at nearly $50,000. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping of all are the wrong planchet errors. These occur when a coin is struck on a blank meant for a different denomination entirely. During the high-speed coin production process, it's possible for a blank from another batch, say a dime or a penny, to accidentally enter the nickel press. When the Jefferson nickel design is struck onto a smaller or thinner planchet, it creates a one-of-a-kind coin. These are the holy grail of mint errors. One famous 1996 nickel was struck on a copper-zinc penny planchet, giving it a reddish hue and lighter weight. To the casual observer, it might look like a weirdly colored nickel, but to numismatists, it's a treasure. That very coin sold at auction for over $124,500, making it one of the most valuable nickels of the modern era. Grasp just how rare this is. Consider this. The U.S. Mint produced over 1 billion nickels in 1996. The vast majority are identical. Only a handful of these error coins slipped through, perhaps fewer than a dozen with serious flaws. And out of those, only a fraction remain in top condition today. That's why grading matters so much. A coin graded MS67 or higher, meaning it's in mint state, flawless, with no signs of circulation, is exponentially more valuable than a worn version. Collectors pay premiums for sharp details, clean surfaces, and full luster. The moment an error coin like this gets certified by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC, its status is cemented in history. For the 1996 Jefferson nickel, that certification can be the difference between a curiosity worth a few $100s and a numismatic masterpiece worth over $100,000. But beyond the numbers, there's something truly fascinating about what these coins represent. They are the perfect marriage of history, art, and chance. The Jefferson nickel has always carried a quiet dignity. Thomas Jefferson's face, stoic and noble, representing America's founding ideals. Monticello on the back, symbolizing architecture, intellect, and legacy. And yet, when the machinery of the mint faltered, it accidentally created something even more compelling. A coin that tells a story of imperfection turned perfection. Collectors are drawn to that story. They see in these errors not mistakes, but miracles, moments when a routine process created something completely unplanned. Each error coin is unique. No two are ever exactly alike, and that individuality gives them soul. The 1996 error nickels stand as a reminder that even machines, even government mints, can have unpredictable moments of creation. Interestingly, 1996 wasn't known as a particularly error-prone year in U.S. mint history. Unlike other years where major die failures or mechanical misalignments caused widespread anomalies, 1996 was relatively stable. That makes these errors even more intriguing. How did a copper penny blank end up in a nickel press? How did the die double strike only a handful of coins before being corrected? Each of these questions deepens the mystery and adds value. Stories from collectors who found or purchased these coins often sound like modern treasure tales. One collector in Arizona reportedly discovered a 1996 nickel with an unusual color in a roll of bank change. Thinking it was just tarnished, he kept it aside, only later realizing it was an off-metal strike. After grading and certification, that weird nickel sold for nearly $70,000. Another collector spotted a 1996 coin with a partially missing Monticello, only to learn it was an off-center strike that went viral in the coin community. And that's the most exciting part. These coins are still out there. They're not locked away in museums or private collections exclusively. They could still be hiding in coin jars, drawers, or old collections passed down through families. Every coin roll you open could, in theory, contain one of these rare treasures. If you want to know what to look for, start by examining every 1996 nickel carefully. Check the lettering. Does it look doubled? Examine the rim. Is it evenly struck? Look for unusual metal tones or sizes that don't quite fit the standard nickel. And most importantly, look for errors that are crisp, not damaged from circulation. Error coins need to be natural mint mistakes, not damage done after the fact. While the market for coins fluctuates, error coins like the 1996 Jefferson nickel have shown remarkable consistency in demand. They're not just collectibles, they're conversation pieces, history lessons, and investment opportunities all in one. The combination of rarity, beauty, and a tangible story makes them irresistible, so the next time you hear the clink of change in your pocket, take a moment to look. Don't just assume it's another ordinary nickel. Because if you happen to hold a 1996 Jefferson nickel with a hidden mint error, you could be holding a piece of numismatic history. A coin that started its life as 5 cents and ended as a treasure worth between $45,600 and $124,500. That's the magic of coin collecting, the mystery, the possibility, and the thrill of discovery. A reminder that even the smallest, simplest things can hide extraordinary stories. Somewhere, right now, one of those rare 1996 nickels might still be waiting to be found. And when it is, it will prove once again that sometimes the tiniest mistakes can lead to the biggest fortunes.